When I was 10, my parents made a bold and selfish decision that I would go to a boarding school. Not because I was in trouble, not because I was brilliant, simply because we didn't have the best schools nearby and they wanted the best for me. And don't get me wrong, this was one of the greatest things that could have ever happened to me. But I didn't know how much this would quietly rewire the way I viewed the world. It taught me that independence was strength, excellence was expected, and that being okay meant looking okay. By 15, I was a competitive tennis player. I danced on stage in front of hundreds of people. I thrived in academics. I was constantly learning, but also constantly performing. I was being trained to compete, not just in sport, but in life. Fast forward a decade, I was walking through the halls of the London School of Economics surrounded by brilliance, ambition, and pressure. Everything was a ranking, from grades to internships to LinkedIn updates, or even how cool my summer looked. I leaned in, I co authored 2 books, got into finance, I had done everything right. At 23, I was a finished product, polished, accomplished, put together, but I didn't feel like one because beneath it all, there was a quiet question echoing in my mind. Is this really it? There's something no one tells you about being raised to perform. You're taught to win, you're not always taught to feel. You're taught to lead, you're rarely taught to ask for help. And even so, in the moments that looked like success, I often felt alone, disconnected, and numb sometimes. And don't get me wrong, not because I wasn't grateful, but I was just exhausted from trying to be everything. One evening, after a long day at work, I had found myself staring at the ceiling of my tiny London flat. I had everything I had once dreamed of, but I didn't recognize myself. I realized I was so focused on arriving somewhere, I hadn't actually been living where I was. I had been playing different roles: the high achiever, the independent girl, the perfect LinkedIn post. I was checking boxes but losing curiosity, winning matches but losing the connection, performing adulthood but missing the becoming. So I decided to unlearn. I started calling home more often, saying I don't know out loud, breaking down my walls, slowly, awkwardly, but honestly. I stopped asking what's next and started asking what matters now. I began to understand that growth isn't linear and life isn't a race. There's no gold medal for becoming the most put together 23-year-old, and there's a deep peace in learning how to be and not just do. Which is why I used to believe that success was about proving myself. Now, I think it's about becoming myself. I used to think strength was about being unbeatable. Now, I think it's about being real. And I believed my story needed to be polished and perfect before I could share it. But maybe the most powerful stories are the ones being told while they're still unfolding. So, if you're in your 20s, 40s, or even 60s, and you feel like you should have it all figured out by now, let me be the first to say, you're not late, you're not broken, you're just becoming. And that becoming, it's not the detour, it is the journey. So yeah, I'm Dorik Tasani and I'm still writing my own story.